You got some ballers on here. You don't even need me.
That's right. Well, we definitely appreciate you being here, Danny. He's going to be speaking on business and realtor gifting. So a little bit of introduction on Danny Guerrido. He's in the Los Angeles division, works in the Pasadena office. He's a CSP with the company, started in December of 1998. So he's been selling Cutco for 26 years. Couple of accomplishments. Push period 60 over 60K on 70 orders. He's earned 21 company trips, multiple Summer Excellence Award winner, multiple Academy Award winner, multiple Standard of Excellence winner. He's also won the Rolex. He's at 5.3 million in personal sales, Hall of Fame member, number 30 of all time sales rep for Cutco. A little bit of personal info. He has a bachelor's in kinesiology, I could barely say that, for athletic training from Cal State University Northridge. He's been married for 23 years to Michelle, proud father of two, Daniel, who's 22, and Mia, who's 19. Loves hanging out with family and friends, loves sports, basketball, MMA, but football is his favorite sport. So, to talk to us today about business and realtor gifting, let's go ahead and give Danny our full attention.
Ah, thank you. That was a great intro, almost like if I wrote it for you. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. Appreciate you guys allowing me the opportunity. I do see some familiar faces. Let me put my gallery on here so I can see all your beautiful faces, which is great. And you got some really great ballers on here. I mean, I know Jeremy Caton, Captain America. You guys have a great resource there. That guy's amazing. I've learned a lot of great things from him. Obviously, Danny Perez is a legend, and I know Mohammed is doing some great stuff. So I'm gonna keep it kind of simple. I'm gonna try to just run through here really quickly with a couple of ideas and concepts, and then maybe we can, if we have time, we can do some Q&A if you guys have time for that, and whatnot. So I'm gonna primarily kind of talk about really working with realtors and lenders, and I think some of this stuff you guys may already have or understand, but I just kind of want to, deep dive on a couple of things and kind of share my journey with you, how I, got to where I'm at today. And like I said, we can open it up. So, like I said, I'm going to primarily focus on talking about realtors, lenders. We'll talk a little bit about business gifts because that's something I'm diving into also. But the first thing, if you're taking notes that I'd like you to write down is this: it's basically having the right mindset. And I know that's a really popular thing that you guys always hear about the right mindset. But what I want to talk about is the right attitude towards this specific business in Cutco. And the right attitude is having a business minded attitude. Right? It's a little bit different. Okay. And people always ask, well, what do you mean by that? Well, what I want to say is that this is not your typical, doing a demo, doing a service call, or doing, stuff behind the booth. Right. So that's the first thing I need you to know and understand. Okay. Because here's the thing. In my experience, most of the time, they don't really care about how great Cutco is. What they just want to know is how it will benefit their business and potentially their client, right? Now, once you establish the need for our program, then they care about all the other benefits of Cutco that it has to offer. And so remember, as a rep, it was the opposite. If you think about it, right? We did all this value, 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 and then they buy, right? Well, the value to these people is different. It's like, I just want to know, get to the effing point. How's this going to help me out? Right. And that took me a long time to understand. All right. So I want you guys to understand that's what I mean by business minded attitude. Okay. Um, because what I've learned is that you only have a short amount of time to show them how it works and how it's going to benefit them. Right. And so you have to nail some key points that's going to spark their interest. Okay. Sometimes, honestly, guys, you have like 5 to 7 minutes or less to do this. And I don't know about you, but that scared me a lot. And so that's why I spent a lot of time role playing. For those of you that went to the summit in Denver, I think you heard Vonnie Pass, who's a really good friend, and you heard the scenario of her role playing her script every day, right? I role play my team meeting script. You guys have seen it if you've been qualified for the CGC thing or the CGP, excuse me, that video that they posted. I literally role play my script every morning in the car ride, sometimes 2 to 3 times on the way to the appointment. No music, just I just role play. So I literally take out the piece of paper because I have it all printed out and I read it once to myself and then I put it down and then I just say it out loud. And a story I will share with you is my son and daughter. This was 4 or 5, maybe 5 to 6 years ago. I was taking them to school in the morning. I'm like, hey guys, I got to really practice my script, so I need you guys to be quiet. And they're like, okay. And I'm role playing my script, and I don't know if it was Mia or Daniel, but one of them said, "Hey Dad, how long you been with Cutco?" And at the time, it was I've been with Cutco right now 26 years. At the time, I'd have been like I don't know, 20-ish. And I said, I don't know, like 20 years. And then like, don't you know it by now? And I started laughing and I said, I do know it, but I want to be ready and I want to be prepared because what happens if someone just blatantly blurts out something in your presentation or does a comment that's beneficial but throws you off, right? You have to know it that well that you can jump in and jump out. And that's why I role play it over and over. But the biggest thing for me, guys, is not even that, it's service. If I don't bring my service, my A game, then why am I there? Right. And so that's kind of the business minded attitude. Does that make sense? Okay. So, my first appointment, by the way, this was back in 2006. Ha! I was at a lender office. You should have seen me. Full suit, blue book in hand. So this is the company, and we've been around since 19. I literally did a effing demo at a lender office. And after a while, people were just like, right? Kind of like hung. No offense, hon. That's perfect. I know you love me. I get you. But like my point is like it was going way too long. They don't care. I've come a long way. We've all come a long way from the program. And so you got to do the key points. Okay. So this is why I say you must have a business minded attitude and you need to get right to the point. The next thing I want to talk about this is an area for some great opportunity for personal growth and financial growth. Okay. Now, personally, for me, I've seen the great opportunities. For one, is that I've learned a lot in this area, and I'm going to continue to learn right over time. But I've noticed that I've gotten better and better. But I've gotten better for serving my clients, for them and their business, and also bettering my life. And so what I've noticed is that most of the time, I could be home earlier if I choose to. Remember the days we would do demos and it was always like, well, I'm old school. It could be like, it was usually anything after 5 p.m. or sometimes service calls after 5 p.m. because a lot of people are home at that time, right? And this is the great thing is because when you do it right, now you have a choice. Okay. Um, if I don't want to work a weekend show, I can choose that too. Right. And I can see that the income potential as I grow this area of my business really helps me have more personal time. I'm not going to say balance because there's no such thing as balance, but just more personal time. Does that make sense? Okay. Now I am not, this is key. I am not saying this is the answer to everyone here because I'm not. This is not for everybody. Okay. It takes some skills to do this. And I also need you to understand that it takes time. As I was driving over back to my home here, I wanted to emphasize the word time. If you can write that in your notes. Okay. It takes someone anywhere between 24 months up to 5 years to build this program, in my opinion. Now, can some people do it faster? Absolutely. Right. But there's no way to just jump ship, right? And stop doing the things you've done to get to where you're at today. And I know this from firsthand experience. It's not a good feeling. Okay. So you got to incorporate it little by little. Okay. But always stick to your bread and butter, which is what you've done. Because I remember in 2006, I was like, oh my God, yeah, I'm done with blah. So at that time, I went full go corporate CGC, and I stopped doing service calls and demos, and I felt the pain, right? Because I just basically I just took this thing that I was killing it at, and I just went like this. So the CPO at the end of the year was still the same. It's not supposed to go like that. It's supposed to go here and add another layer. Make sense? And then when you get to a specific time in your business, then you can replace it, right? So that's really important. The next thing I want you to write down is be willing to learn. I know that some people think, oh, I got this, right? There's a process of doing it the right way. And so you got to learn exactly as the top producers are doing it so that you get the same results. So, you got, in your division and, you got Jeremy Kate in there, like that guy is amazing, right? So that's someone you can guys reach out to or lean on, right? I know Mohammed does this as well. But for me, the people that I talk to is Ronnie Fass and Deanna Scortino, right? Those two ladies are just amazing. And I'm trying to do it like them, right? And so get around those people. I heard from Tony Robbins, you can write this down. Proximity is power. Right? Proximity is power, meaning, being around that. All right. The next thing I want to chat with you about is as far as what we do, right? What is it that we do? Well, what I want you to understand is this, and I think most of you guys know this for the most part, but it's a quick reminder, is what we're offering is closing gifts, or like for some people, settlement gifts to realtors and lenders. Most of the time, at the end of a transaction or the deal, they're going to give something as a token of their appreciation to their client, right? The problem is that most of the gifts don't serve them all that well. Okay. Most people give gift baskets, bottle of wine, gift cards to customers' favorite restaurants, Home Depot card, cash, flour, whatever. And there are many gifts out there that other things that I don't even know that people do still. Now, we're not telling them that their clients are not going to like that, right? Of course, we never say that. What we're saying is what we do works better because our gifts better serve the need of the realtor and the client long term. That's what you need to convey to them. Okay. And a lot of times they're just on the short term fix. Here's a gift card, say la vie. I did a great job, right? A lot of times realtors and lenders think like, I'm God's gift to real estate and loans. That's far from it, right? And a lot of times we think, hey, I'm going to close this one deal and they're going to be my client forever. I don't need to follow up. That's what we all go wrong, right? So with realtors and lenders, it's the same thing. They have to give something that's memorable, that's impactful. Okay. So that's what we do. Now, why we focus our energy on realtors and lenders? Well, let me tell you why. And there's a distinction between realtors and business gifts. Okay. So with realtors and lenders, and this is a point for you to write down, they can make their own decision most of the time. Okay. So they can make their own decision, right? For most of the time. With business gifts, you have to sometimes work your way up into the company or work your way to the decision maker. So those two different things. So some of the time, some of the time the person you're talking to is a decision maker, and that's great. But generally, it takes a lot longer for business gifts. What I love about realtors and lenders, they make their own decision right on the spot. Do you know why? Because they make the commission right on the spot, and they don't have to report to anyone. So this is a great benefit to us, right? When you meet with them, they can most of the time just make the decisions right away on the spot and they're good to go. And that's beautiful. And we love that, right? And so, your CPO might be 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, but hey, 5 of those in a day, I'll take it. 10 of those in a week, sign me up, right? With business gifts, and you've heard from the meeting, it can take up to 8 to 15 interactions. But it's a 10K, 15K, 20K. I'll take those too, right? So you have to learn and understand the differences. Now, so moving on. Next thing I want to talk about. This is why this works so well in that industry is because, the decision making. But also what I need you to understand is that, and I think you've heard this before, but they're already spending money, right, on gifts. We're just, as Tony Carlson says, we're just diverting funds from things that don't work to things that do work. So we're just, changing what they're spending their money on so that it benefits them long term. Okay. And in my opinion, it also benefits their client, right? Because in my opinion, it's the best thing they could do right now. All right. Now, there is a huge need for this program that I want to spend a little bit of time on talking to you guys, and what it can provide for these agents. So you need to understand that it's a huge need. Again, like I said earlier, when a transaction is closed, something is given as a gift, right? And as I explained earlier, in my opinion, this is the gifts that they do is not serving them well, but what we do can. So the reason is that people always wonder, well, what is it about my gift that I'm doing that's not working? Well, you know the answer, right? Consumable. Huge word. But I had to like look it up, like, what does that mean? Right? Back, 20 years ago. Right. And so you can say that in your presentation, the gifts are consumable. And I learned this from Mike Monroe, who was at the meeting. He also said it's not used, but he also said it's not practical. And that's a key word, practical, right? Here today, gone tomorrow, that's not practical, right? And a lot of realtors, they give, and lenders and other companies, what do they give? Gift baskets, right? They get used up and then it's gone. They go out and have a nice dinner. They enjoy it. That moment's gone. How is that helping the agent 2 years, 5 years from now? It's not. And that's kind of the conversation you need to have with some people, right? And they're like, oh, right? Like, oh, well, we give out like jackets and hats and tchotchkes and trinkets. Great. Guess where those go? Ah, okay. Because people forget all of those things, right? And that is not something that stands out to them in their mind. So with realtors and lenders, they need to make a long lasting impression on their clients. Here's the thing I always hear in the industry is this, and this is really interesting. You can write this down because I've talked to realtors over and over again, but they say, hey, Danny, my database is like a yo-yo, right? I get some clients, I lose some clients. I get some clients, I lose some clients. By the way, once you agree to some degree, that's Cutco sometimes too, right? You get a client and they go to someone else by accident, right? Was it really an accident? No, I did a good job connecting. So I have to own that, right? Same thing with real estate, right? And that's what I tell them. And they're like, oh, right. Driving by and you see a house you sold, but a different sales sign in that yard. Ow. Why did that happen? Right? Things like that. Here's a great stat for you if you heard me talk. 9%, and this is national, 9% of the population can name their realtor, lender, just 2 years after the transaction. So that means that 91% cannot. What side do you want to be on? That's one of the lines I say, when I'm speaking. And so I'm here to share with you a couple of ideas that could potentially help you, right? So the great benefit about the Cutco gifts is that obviously they're engraved. We know that, right? With the company logo, name, and number, and the product is guaranteed forever. So it's hard for the client to forget. Once in a blue, you might get a person that doesn't want to engrave it. Hey, that's on them. They're still going to be remembered. Okay. Next point here is I feel one of the biggest benefits to us as reps, and this is really key, is the repeat orders. Okay, that you can build over time. If you build a solid program and you have a follow-up and connection program, you can get a really high reorder rate. All right. You guys heard Katie Haney talking from the stage, like, oh, we get a 92% reorder rate. That's a bunch of bull s. That's never happened ever. You have to be like the king and queen of that, and that doesn't happen. But there's programs you can do to help yourself out. But my point is, this is a huge, huge opportunity. When you get to live in reorder land, like Adam Sobieski talked about, it's a beautiful place. It's like being in paradise. So I'll give you an example. Last year in 2024, I had 40% of my total realtor lender business was reorders. Who would like that? Right? 86,000 was reorders, right? And by the way, again, Jeremy Kane's a great guy. You can ask him what his percentage was. He's probably way better than me at this than I am. So ask him when you get a chance. Okay. So how to get started? The first thing is getting, and I think for most of us, I'm going to keep it really simple. I think the first thing for you guys is getting leads, right? Getting referrals. So you might know someone already. That's how I got started back in 2006. I had a friend who was a realtor, right? And so that's how I got started. So a great way to get leads is obviously on your appointments. Just ask your customers, you know, you can let them know, hey, we do gifts for realtors and lenders and businesses. And you guys heard that from the conference, always ask, right? Would you mind recommending me to your realtor, lender, plumber, landscaping, whatever, right? If you could just give me their phone number or card, I'd be happy to call them and show them what we do. This is one way, right? And an easy way you can do it right now to really introduce yourself. Here's what's cool. The response is great because they all wish they would have received Cutco as a gift. That's what I've experienced. Any person I talk to, like, oh man, right? When you're at the demo or the service call, and they're like, my lender didn't give me shit. Or my lender, I don't, honey, what did we get? Right? So now they're excited about giving you the referral and the lead. Does that make sense? So that's kind of how that works there. What else I want to share with you? Okay. Oh, and then also the connection that they have in the relationship, I think is really, really great because it makes it easier for the phone call. So you can call them the same day, anytime, doesn't really matter because when you name drop, that's great. One of the examples I share with you, one of my first leads that I got was from I think I was doing a service call and I asked that question and she referred me to her friend who was a realtor and I called her and I went out to meet with her and I did the presentation. And this was my first lead. And now this doesn't happen every time, but she ended up ordering 15 essential sets, blocks. Okay. Now, back in the day, you can imagine how I felt inside my body, but outside I was like, yeah, that makes sense, right? You got to keep it calm. But inside I was like, oh my God, right? And that was really, really cool, right? And so you never know what it's going to lead to. And then she got me to come and speak at her office, and the rest is history, right? So that's good. A couple of other things you can look at to get leads is going to events. There's always an event in every community, right? Chamber of Commerce is a great connection. Most areas have an association of realtors, right? And I'm sure you guys are gonna have to figure out how that works with your rules and regulations with the your top reps in the area, but I'm sure you guys can figure that out. I do continuation classes, I sponsor events, only events I could speak at, by the way. By the way, something you want to avoid if you are going to be part of an association, please avoid sponsoring orientation classes. They're the worst. So don't write it down. Never sponsor orientation classes. What it is brand new people that are entering into the, real estate community and they have nothing to offer you and you have nothing to offer them because they're just like, dude, this is an awesome program and you just wasted your day and your money. So never sponsor those classes. Now you can get a lot of business out of that though, getting the leads, so go to an open house. This is another one on the weekend and introduce yourself to an agent that's conducting the open house, right? There are all kinds of different places to meet people, but the real goal is to generate leads and eventually speak at an office meeting. Okay. So your traditional events are a great way to get leads also. Those are just, some easy ways to get leads to get started. So I think for you guys, obviously you're gonna have to figure out your geographical lines, with your division manager and whoever those, hold the area. But if you wanted to, a great way is you don't have to do that. A great way is just at a service call, at a demo, at the booth, you can get realtors and lenders by asking, right? And then you can just be referred to each of their friends and so on and so forth. And that's one way to build it as well, right? You don't have to do the association. You don't have to do a team meeting. Make sense? Okay. So what to do? I know that it's been a while since I've done this as far as how do I start, but I think there is an application process for this position, I think, right, Denise? There's an application process or something like that.
I
So
think you have to be CGP certified now. They've now combined the role with together, so it's not like CGC and then business gifts. They're now combined as a CGP. So you have to finish that course and get certified. Then you can sell realtor gifts. You can also do business gift like industry type events as well.
there you go. So those are now three avenues. You got, realtor, lender, business, and industry events, which is great. So get certified. I'm assuming you have to talk to your district manager, division manager, have a conversation about that. Make sure you go to the right channels. That way you're not stepping anyone's toes. I can't say that all of you will apply or and be accepted for the position, but I know there's a startup fee for materials and stuff like that, which I feel is totally worth it. Getting samples and all that good stuff. Um, some of the things that I would recommend is getting like a club mate, a cooked combo, a few single pieces, get some cool engraving, and off you go. Um, some optional things, like what I do now for my fair and show is I have a homemaker +8 block, and then I have a plate on it. And it's one of the top realtors in the San Luis Obispo area. So I have his name on there, which is kind of cool. And that's one of my territories that I work out of. Um, but yeah, just make sure like certain pieces are engraved, right? If you guys heard Philip Tice talk about it, your display, you should have your spreader, your petite chef, the butcher, like certain pieces should be engraved on your display board so that it catches people's attention or it could be a conversation starter. Even when you're doing a demo, like oh yeah, that's one of the customers I work with. Let me explain our business gift program or whatever. So have those. Um, Also get the right information as far as what to say. That's really big. I'm talking about the scripts, right? So there's like a phone script that you guys need to get. There's a team meeting script. There's a one-on-one script, follow-up phone call. Like everything is scripted. You want to have all that stuff out and ready to go. You need to study it. You need to role play it, just like I did when I was first, like mentioned earlier. And most important, have it really memorized. Um, Here's what I will tell you. One of my first big meetings that I did in 2013, I was a district manager. I went back and then I came back as a rep. And one of the first team meetings I did, there was probably 50 to 60 realtors in the room. So I was scared shitless. And I got so scared that I literally took the paper with me and I literally read it. And the cool thing is I got through it and I got like 6 orders. It was an awesome day. It's probably like 7K. I was like, oh my God. But I've since then going back to the office, and one of my good friends, Rodney Gonzalez, he's like, dude, I remember the first time you spoke here and you had that piece of paper. And now you just walk in and you command the room. And I'm like, oh man, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. He goes, no, I remember. And he's been a client of mine, 10 plus years now, right? So it's pretty cool. So really the key would be to have it memorized, right? That's important. Definitely go field training with whoever you can. Watch people make phone calls, watch people do team meetings, watch people do one-on-ones. Immersion, right? That's what I talked about earlier. Ask questions from the right people who are doing it, the best, right? There's a lot of people in our division and in our region that can help you out. And the last thing, as I start to wrap up here, is I will leave you with the power of the team meeting. Um, how do you get a team meeting to happen? Right. Well, first you get to an agent in that office and you show them the program and how it works. Then you have them introduce you to the broker or team leader, manager, whatever, basically the person in charge of the meeting. You explain the benefits of the program to them, and then you get into the team meeting as a guest speaker. And that's kind of how that works. Okay. So find a realtor or lender, explain it to them, have them introduce you to the broker, office manager, so on and so forth, and then show it to them as a benefit. You come in as a guest educational speaker and then go from there. Now, obviously, again, follow the rules in your division. I don't know how that all works over there, but be respectful for the people that have been doing it for a while and figure out, where you can carve out your own little area. and whatnot. And if that doesn't work as far as, all the offices, then you can just do individuals. Okay. I will tell you though, what I like about the business gifting and realtor program is it's like those presentations are the, bloodline of our business. And the only issue we run into is time. So there's not enough time in the day to meet with everybody individually. So sometimes doing the team meeting is more advantageous for us. Does that make sense? Versus going one on one, and you can do it that way too. So let's say you did not do a team meeting. You can, again, like I said, build a relationship and just do one-on-ones with everybody, because that's what I would call legal, right? In the gifting world. So just like, you did like your first presentation and then you got a referral to another one, right? Same kind of concept here. All right. Um, I think that's pretty much it that I got. Um, One thing I would share with you as far as like execution wise, um, I would try to do one meeting, event, sponsorship, either one a week or one every 2 weeks, to slowly trickle it into your business. And then as you get higher and higher and higher, then you can add more to that layer of how that works. But I feel that your area is pretty vast. I don't, who are those people in your division? Do you know?
We have in NorCal, we have two. We have Jeremy Caton and Eric Cheshire.
Yeah,
Um, and then
perfect.
Bay Area, I don't know about you guys. I know Mitch Felix at one point was doing, I don't know if he's still around. Um,
No,
so
he's not.
I don't think there's a ton of people doing realtor out in the Bay.
Yeah, so the base,
Jeff Teresi's the only one that's
that's
full
Okay.
right.
time.
By the way, that guy is amazing. He calls me all the time. I'm like, why are you calling me? You're kicking my butt. So Carlo, I think you're out there. That should be your best friend. He's amazing and he's been doing this a long time. Okay. Great energy. And I think for NorCal, you guys have, Jeremy, as well. So again, I want to emphasize stressing learn the rules and regulations in the territory so you're not stepping on anyone's toes. Have a conversation. Like Deanna and I, like our territories are like this, and we work really well with each other. Okay. So we have discussions and boom, if I run into a customer, I write up the order, hand it over, vice versa. We've done team meetings together in middle, or like, hey, I got referred to this office that's in your territory from so and so. I'm like, great, let's go, and vice versa. Like there's no arguments. It's like there's abundance. There's
Yep.
no scarcity. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Talk about the lines, right? We
yeah,
also
just talk
have
about the
Mohammed, by the way, in Reno. So
yeah, which is far from you. So Muhammad's like, great, he can stay
yeah.
out. But I know the Bay and NorCal. There's probably some opportunities there that could be had. What else could I share? So an event once a week, every other week would be good. Um, and then doing one-on-ones. I like doing them right after the team meeting in the office, but you can also do phone one-on-ones, or you can schedule an appointment, go back to the office and schedule them out. I think scheduling one-on-one should be 30 minutes apart. How that works is if you're at your home office, you can schedule phone calls every 30 to 45 minutes apart for the follow-up after you've presented, right? If you're gonna go to the office and then you're gonna have realtors meet you, then you would schedule them 30 to 45 minutes and you're just sitting there, kind of like a service event. They walk in, right? It's kind of the same concept. Okay. What's a good example is yeah, I remember one time I drove out to Palmdale, Lancaster, which is like 45 to an hour away from me. This was back in 07, 08, when there was no lines. And I did, I don't know, like 9 one-on-ones back to back to back to back to back, 30 minutes apart. I was just there like literally for a long time. And it was a 10K day. It was awesome. Right. And so, like, I'm not saying that's going to happen all the time, but that's a beautiful thing. Right. Now that territory is Deanna's, right? And I can't do that. But my point is you want to line them up as best you can. All right. What else? What other notes I have here for you? I think that's pretty much what I got for you. Um, get the right script for the team meeting, the one-on-one, the phone approach, the follow-up phone approach, stuff like that. So, if you guys have some Q&A, I'm more than open to do some Q&A for a little bit if you have time. And hopefully, Denise, that was kind of what you wanted to hear, I hope.
Absolutely. Thank you. We appreciate it. I know that you're out on appointments today, so I appreciate you sacrificing the time for us. Does anyone have questions that they want to ask Danny?
Hey Danny, I got a question.
Mohammed, shoot.
Yeah. So I'm cleaning up some of my systems right now, and I'm just kind of curious, for lead collection, what's like your process for um, collecting leads, organizing leads, and then following up with leads in general?
Like from a team meeting?
Yeah.
Great question. So, I used to collect business cards, right? And I'm still kind of old school where I have them put their card in. I've since then converted to just having them text me. So that's one way to collect is there's an approach where you can say and have them text you, right? So the texts come in. So I'll just kind of walk you through a scenario. So I do the team meeting pitch, cool. I'm like, hey, so here's how this works. If you have any interests or compelling interest to want to get some stuff, here's how this is working. I do like a little special and they text me, right? I get my phone number and then I try to meet with everybody as fast as possible, right? And then I also screenshot and then I send all those to my assistant, Michelle Jimenez, and she inputs it all into my database. Okay. So that way they're gonna get the drips. And that's kind of like how I capture that, right? From a team meeting. If I'm at a CE class or like an event I'm sponsoring, I have these like pieces of paper with information and they can bring it back to me and I tell them, hey, if you want to place an order today, that's great. Here's a special. If you just want information, just bring that to me and we'll connect. I try to give people two different options. Okay. If I'm doing a virtual, they're gonna text me, and then I have this I forgot anyway. I have like the spreadsheet, and I type in all that information, name, cell phone, email, if the level of interest, and then I just start making phone calls to follow up, and then I also send that to Michelle Jimenez, and she inputs it, into the system for follow ups for drips and things of that nature. So that's kind of been my collection process. Nothing too fancy. What I will tell you, Mohammed, that's really helped me out, especially when I go to CE events and sponsorships at the association, is this. Because what I've learned is like if I just do a pitch and then I'll get maybe 2 to 3 people to come back to the table and order, right? But if I have these on the table, it doubles it. I'll get 6 to 10 orders with this. Because they just sit there like, I'm just gonna wait my turn until I get to speak with Danny because I have this paper to turn in. You get me? Versus like, I ain't got shit. I'll call him later. He'll call, and that doesn't happen. So this has been a really big game changer for me as far as lead collection. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, a little bit. So I'll probably just text Michelle. I use her too, but I don't use her for lead collection. So that's a great idea. And then she just puts it on a spreadsheet then, I assume, right? Probably ask her what she does.
Yeah, so like if I'm in a team meeting, like Deanna and I, because we're just running around, we just like screenshot, send to Michelle, and then she just puts it into the CRM for us. If I'm doing a virtual, I once the meeting's over, I have my phone and it has all the information, and I just type it all in, and then I just send it to Michelle, and then I print that out, and then I just use that for phone calls and follow-ups and things of that nature. And then obviously I'm still collecting business cards. One thing I will tell you though, there was a time where I'm pointing over here to my left. There was a time, Mohammed, when I had like piles and piles of business cards, and I hated it. So now I'm like, I make it really clear, like, hey, if you want to order gifts, put a star on your card, or text me I'm in or sharp or whatever to know who the leads are, and then I will follow up and talk with those people. The rest of the people, I don't even bother. I just drip, right?
Mhm.
If I collect cards from like an expo, I'm calling them until they say no. It's like, hey, this is Danny with Cutco. How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. We met at blah, blah, blah. Wanted to connect with you about some gifts. You stop by my booth, and I go from there. If they don't answer, I send them a quick text because my goal is to get rid of those business cards. I hate them sitting on my freaking tray here. It's like ridiculous. So if they're interested, great. If they're not, say la vie. I'm just moving because I'll run into them again. When they're ready, they're ready.
Cool. And then the last part with that, I typically use that little form only for classes above like have like 50 or more people. Do you do that for every size class or just
Every
big one?
class.
Okay.
Every class. It's just a habit now. So if it's bold, if it's any class, I don't care if there's 10 people, I noticed I get more orders versus if I don't.
Okay. Cool.
And
Thanks.
even if they don't order, like, hey, I want you to have my info. Because a lot of people have those QR codes nowadays, right? Sometimes they don't carry business cards, and I make that statement in my presentation, and I'll say something to the effects like, "Hey, nowadays people don't even have business cards, right? They have like those QR codes. So if you can just fill that out and hand it to me, and then that way I can still connect with you if you have some interest for the future. And those of you that feel compelled to, inclined to, if you want to place an order today, here's your special for today. Your call to action is, and then I just go over a quick special. So I'm basically allowing both parties to hand their card to me or their sheet to me.
Well, thanks.
Cool. What else do you guys have for me?
Anybody else?
And I'm hoping you guys have the team meeting script already. Yes, no, maybe. All right. Daniel, it looks like it's really cold where you're at.
It definitely is 100%. It's like 57 degrees.
Where do you live?
Clovis.
Clovis Closers. Okay. Gotcha.
It's just been a little chilly where we are. It's 59 where I'm at, but
Yeah, well, we're dealing with fires, but it's a decent day today. So the winds are gonna pick up. Well, hey guys, again, if you ever want to call me, I'll give you my phone number. It's 949-678-3439. Again, 949-678-3439. Feel free just to, give me a call if you have any questions, and hopefully answer some of your guys' questions about the, program. As far as business gifts, I'm just learning that as well and getting into it. One thing I will share with you, Mohammed, is how I basically track all my business gifts. I actually have a spreadsheet, and I have basically my top 10 business leads that I'm working with, and it's the one I got from Andy Jonti, and that's what I use. I don't know if you were at the event when they made us make phone calls. If you were there, I was able to make phone calls because I just pulled that bad boy up and I made 2 connections, and they were like, "Hey, what's up?" And it was great. But strategically, I sent my top 10 business leads all a either 4-inch or 6-inch vegetable knife as a thank you, and I hadn't had time to follow up to see how they like it. That was a key, right? So as soon as I called and they saw Danny's name, they're like, "Oh, I need to answer this." Right? I've learned that too. And they're like, "Danny," I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And then we just chatted. And one guy I'm going to connect with in June because he has a project he's working on. He wants to order, I don't know, 8 to 15 homemakers plus eights. So he wants me to connect with him in June. And then the other guy wants me to call him next week for gifts. And that was as far as I got through the calls, and then that's it. But it's organized, right? So I can put when I call them, I can put what we talked about, I can tell them what we did last time, right? I can put like what they said or what their wife said about the gift I sent them, right? It's all in there. So then when I go back to that sheet, I know exactly the previous conversation we had, and so that was all written in there on the time that I did. As far as realtors, there's way too many of those, but I do keep a gold list. My gold group is like my top 50 to 75, and I have that kind of same spreadsheet set up for them. So spreadsheets, I love.
awesome, Danny. Well, thank you so much for your time again today, and hope you guys you have a great rest of your week, and good luck on your service calls.
Yeah, no, now
Danny,
it's all corporate gifts right now and realtor gifts right now. I did my service calls this morning. By the
Uh,
way, here's another tip: is you should do it the other way. You should do service calls in the evening and business gifts in the day. So if you can do realtor lenders, 8 to 2-ish, and then 2 to 6 is residential. Right. So today I committed to doing residential the whole day, but I didn't get my full day booked up. So now I'm going to switch it over to business gifts and realtor gifts once I eat food and get back to my office.
Gotcha. Was somebody looking to jump in? I think somebody said
Yeah, I
something.
heard somebody.
I think it was me. I was just saying thank you, Danny.
Oh, Mojave,
Appreciate
you're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Take care. Thanks so much.
All right. I don't know how to get out of here. Let me see. Minimize.